now Karl Miller with Karl Miller Realty in the studio. Hey, Karl, good to see you.
Good morning. It's good to see you as well, Mary.
And I know you talked about it on your radio show last week, but you just got back from a big trip that was, well, it sounds like it was amazing.
Yeah, big trip. Went to Italy for a few weeks. Got to go see a different part of the world. We were kind of in the Tuscany region, which was pretty fantastic. Got to just experience different culture, different food. Really good food, by the way. Some amazing sights and some beautiful wineries. Learned the process of making wine. Quite an art form. And
do they still stomp on the grapes with their feet?
Not the ones we went to. They talked about that. There is sort of this, I guess there might be a couple of old, like, small places where they do that. But no, not the ones we were at.
So it's not like I Love Lucy.
It's interesting. They, it's quite a process, the way they put this in these stainless steel vats and then age a certain amount of time. And then they go into the wooden, like oak barrels, like literally oak barrels that are, some of them are quite large, like 20,000 euros a piece to buy these things. But the process is after 5 or 6 years, they have to go in there and literally hand scrape all the residue from the inside of the barrel out. Like, they're big enough you can crawl into, obviously. And it's a very, very time-consuming, tedious concept to get back to the oak before they barrel the next batch after about 5 or 6 years.
I know that you're always
quite fascinating.
You're always learning and researching and gathering information for what you do, even when you're traveling and enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
What is it? What's a house, a homeowner in Italy, in the Tuscany region?
Yeah, it's quite expensive. So the land is very expensive. The vineyard property is incredibly expensive. Like a established vineyard, the minimum price per acre is 100,000 euros, and if it's on a southward facing slope with the right soil, it can be as much as $1 million an acre for vineyard land, which is quite expensive. That we went to one large winery that had been acquiring other wineries, and I'm thinking, if this is such great, like why isn't there more commercialization? And it's just price prohibitive. It's very cost prohibitive. And then you get a bad year, and you might lose 50%. Like I guess 2023, I think it was 2023. I'm going from memory. One of those years was a really rough year in that one specific region, and they only had 30% of the crop. So it's like farming here. You get drought sometimes and the hay's not good, or the beef prices drop, and all the farmers and people with agricultural backgrounds understand farming is a commodity, and I guess the wine business is a bit of a commodity as well, because you never know which vintage is going to hit, and sometimes you don't know till 5 years later. So pretty fascinating world. It was a lot of fun, but we got to see some old buildings. In fact, the house, so my friend was celebrating a 50th birthday and rented a 7-bedroom, 7-bathroom house for a month and said, "Hey, I've got the house. Just come. You're my friends. Just come and just let us know who and when." And, we don't want to overrun the house. But so it was fun.
Nice.
There were people coming and going the whole time. It was a lot of fun. Really cool experience. We got to see, and the house was built in 1550. I think a new house in Italy is 100 years old. It's kind of It's just a different mindset. The way they view time is different. Yeah.
Old here and old there for buildings and everything is vastly different.
Yeah, so Venice, this is just a real quick side story. Venice, we had a guy, they were talking about the water, how they got water in Venice, and just fascinating city, by the way. I'd recommend everybody go visit Venice. Just incredible feat of building that city on top of what is now petrified wood, essentially. But the guide was saying that it's been very, very recent that we've gotten piping of water from the mainland to the island. It's been very recently. She said, as recently as 1884. And she's talking. I'm thinking, okay, maybe 1960. No, 1884. They just view time differently there. When you got buildings that are 2,000 years old, or 500, 700 years old all around you.
Yeah, no doubt it colors your view. So did you like the Pope? Did you get along with him all right?
It was kind of cool to be there when that happened. I was not. We stayed away from Rome. Just, it's already the year of Jubilee, and lots of people. And then went with the Pope dying and Pope Leo the 14th getting announced. It was interesting that two of the party were down there when that happened, and pretty historical moment. They were literally at a coffee shop around the corner when this announcement went up, and it was just like this mad rush of. Just think of all the streets just becoming a river of people, one direction towards the Vatican Square, and it filled up in just minutes, to well over 100,000 people. So it's just pretty fat. They got to be part of that. They got to see the Pope come out and give his blessing, and it was, historical moment in history. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and you're able to be part of it. I mean, that's sometimes a little bit of good fortune, chance going your way, helps out.
Well,
So
speaking of fortune, real estate.
Building your fortune.
Build a fortune with real estate.
So now we are still in the midst of historically high home prices.
Yes, we are.
Any chance that the prices are going to be coming down anytime soon?
I don't see any. I don't see any path by which the prices would come down, with the exception of something absolutely catastrophic happening in the economy.
Well, let's hope we don't have
we have 70 years of housing data, and actually it goes back further than that, but we've got really solid data of 70 years back to 1950, and from 75 years, so from 1950 to 2024, there's only been 7 years that there's been a drop in the U.S. average home prices, and 2 of them were very small. 1990 and 1991, the prices dropped 7.7% and 0.2%. And then we had the Great Recession, and that's recent memory, 2007 to 2011. And during that time period, 5 years in a row, prices dropped 5%, 12%, 4%. I'm rounding off, but 4% and 4%, like just really rough years from 2007 to
drops.
And it was 5 consecutive years. And so then COVID hit, and there was a dip. I mean, there was a dip from March of 2020 to June of 2020, but we all kind of know what happened. The interest rates got artificially, lowered down. The Fed, in their attempt to avoid a catastrophe, did what they thought they needed to do, and then we saw a run in housing. So every person who was thinking about selling in March of 2020, I shouldn't say every, but many sellers, when the world stopped, put their life on. They're not putting their house on the market, but the existing home sellers, the existing inventory, just got, was gone because buyers rushed in, and we've been in a housing shortage ever since. Even today, even with the prices up, like the U.S. still has less than 2.5 months of housing supply, and even here in Lynchburg, if you look this morning at how many homes are for sale in Lynchburg and Three Touching counties, there's about 470 single-family homes. Well, there's 440 pending sale. So that means these are homes that are under contract. So if we make the assumption those 440 homes close out in the next, let's say 60 days, be conservative, but probably 45 days, that gives us only about 2 months of housing supply here in Lynchburg. So if you have less than 5 months of housing supply, we're in a seller's market. And pricing, back to your question, is based on supply and demand, and there's the demand is still outstripping the supply.
All right, so let's talk about interest rates. A lot of talk about them headed up, possibly now hitting 7%, that kind of thing. What do you see for, say, broadly speaking, the next 6 months?
I wish I had the crystal ball, but I don't see how it's. I think there is demand there as well for the rates to drop, and I don't mean to provide false hope. One of the frustrations I've had in the in my industry is that in 2022, and the rates doubled in 2022. You went from 3% to 6%, and I got so frustrated with the industry because they kept sort of dangling the proverbial carrot out there. Oh, in 6 months the rates are going to drop. In 6 months the rates are going to drop. There's a lot of things going on economically right now. There's a lot of instability right now in the markets, but I don't see how it's sustainable for it to be at 7% in 6 months from now. The data seems to be indicating that we're going to see the rates drop. Now, if you're a home buyer, don't put your life on hold and don't try to time the market. Timing the market is silly. There's a good chance that our prices in Greater Lynchburg are going to go up another 4% in the next 9 months. So if you've got the savings and you can afford the house and you want to move and you want to buy a home, whether you're a homeowner now or you're a tenant now and your lease is expiring, go buy the home. Real estate shouldn't be predicated on trying to time the market. But I am optimistic, Brian, that rates will be dropping a bit. And boy, I mean, the perfect number seems to be 5.8%. If you could get to that number in the mortgage money, the whole market would just unleash. There'd be really good activity in the real estate market. You got to understand that in our industry, last year, fewer houses sold than since 1995. And we have 80 million more people in the U.S. I mean, those are documented people since 1995. So there is, proportionately, the numbers are really skewed up in the housing markets right now. And there's high demand, there's low supply, but there's also a lot of people just not moving. It seems to be a needs-based market. The people that are selling are people who are going through hardship or a job relocation. So there's job relocation, there's death, divorce, and there's unfortunately there's other compelling reasons to get close to family. Maybe mom's not doing well in Atlanta, so we're moving to Georgia. So those types of stories are what I'm hearing as I'm on the streets talking with sellers. There's usually a pretty compelling need. The one exception would be folks who are retired and their house is paid for, there's cash involved, and they're not quite as concerned about what the interest rates are doing.
You mentioned you've given us the average age of the first-time home buyer.
Yeah. The average age of the first-time home buyer last year, and this is I think just a tragedy. It's 38 years old. That was the average age of the first-time home buyer last year. And when I got started in the business, it was in the high 20s. But what's interesting is that in the last 5 years, that number's just been jumping up almost per year. So, for example, in 2023, the average age was 36. And last year, the average age was 38 of a first-time home buyer. And it speaks, we're blessed because we don't live in a market like on the West Coast and some of the bigger cities where the average sales price is $800,000. We don't. So if you're a first-time home buyer in those markets, I mean, you think about having to save, $100,000 to put, 12% down. It's very, very, very challenging. And we're in Greater Lynchburg, Virginia. Housing is affordable. I mean, yes, it's hard. It's always been hard to buy your first house. And I think that the harder thing that for the younger, for the Gen Zs and the not the millennials, the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys of today is that rents are so high. The proportion of your income going to a rent payment is just very, very, very challenging. And but scrounge away, find a way. 54% of home buyers, first-time home buyers last year, got down payment assistance. It's okay to go ask your parents or grandparents for a gift, and get you on the financial pathway towards towards wealth building through home ownership.
So speaking of wealth building through home ownership, let us say you wanted to buy an investment property.
Yeah, I love investment properties.
Maybe a house. And
sure.
Maybe it's not in the best of all possible neighborhoods.
Great.
So what would you tell someone like that? Asking for a friend, of course.
Yes, of course. Okay, so here's what I would say when you're buying investment properties. There's two ways to look at this. And I think you got to also kind of look at what are you solving for? Because if you're solving for return on investment in your life, in your financial life, or maybe a diversification of assets and diversification of income, yeah, it's a great way to go. But I will say this, if you're solving for peace of mind and a stress-free life, probably not the best way to go about this. Because, I love the idea of horizontal income. Some people call it passive income. I don't like that term passive income because nothing is passive, but horizontal income where you have a check coming into your mailbox or your bank account every month, regardless if you show up at the office or not, right? I love that concept. And so rental property is a horizontal income stream. That being said, if you are thinking about buying investment property or you own investment property, I think one of two things needs to be true of that investment property. Number one, it should either be A, cash flowing, to where your income is greater than your expenses, or B, if it's not, or if it's break even, being in a location that is pretty much guaranteed to be a appreciating market. And we are more in a cash flow society here in Lynchburg, because, you go to the coast and prices are rapidly going up, or you go to a certain area and you see the prices are commercial where you just know, okay, in 5 years, my capital gains, my appreciation is going to be really, really solid in this location, right? So I think investors make the mistake sometimes of trying to hit both. And the reality is you should aim for one. And if you hit both, great. But you want to be either cash flowing or appreciating, capital gains. Now, that being said, if you own an investment property now and it's causing headaches, this is my advice. If it's causing headaches, if it's causing stress, and this is no fun anymore, hey, the market's up. It's a good time to sell. So that's in a nutshell.
Okay. And then in a property that is, it might not be in the best area. It might not be that area that's appreciating, but at least you're going to be able to, somebody will rent it and you'll be able to make some money.
Absolutely.
On it. Okay.
Yeah, I think if it's since you asked for a friend who's got a property in a rough area,
That's
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's as long as it's spinning off cash flow, and again, it's kind of like I hear Dave Ramsey talking about this a lot on Ramsey Solutions. If it's causing stress in your life and you have the ability to liquidate something, I think you have to kind of decide what's the important thing in any given. What are your values? Like, what do you want in your life? And because I will say this, it's relatively easy to sell real estate right now. It's easier than it's been. I mean, well, maybe not since 20. It's still relatively, when I look at time in 5-year blocks, and I've been selling real estate now for 20 years. And by the way, 80% of agents have been in the business less than 5 years. So the fact that you can get, if you get past year 6 or 7 with any real estate professional who's active in the market, just be aware of that as a consumer. Experience does count. There is, I've seen, when I look at these 5-year blocks, right, it's probably been the easiest 5-year block ever to sell a house. Now, the market is shifting a little bit, and buyers, you have an opportunity right now. Closing costs are starting to get negotiated again. Concessions, and not everything is selling for full price, especially homes that have been on the market a while. There's a bit of a window of opportunity right now you have as a buyer. I would even say before the rates drop, because I do think if the rates drop, as we talked about, Brian, earlier, you're going to see less inventory. You're going to see more of a demand. You're going to see more rush of buyers coming into the market. So that would be good for our economy, by the way. But there's a bit of an opportunity right now where you don't have as many competition if you're a buyer as you did certainly in 2022.
All right, so what's coming up on the big show tomorrow?
The show will be prepared today. I just got back from Phoenix. I was at a conference in Phoenix at the Peak Experience with my mentor, Brian Buffini, and his organization. Just a really, really good event. There will be some good content tomorrow, Brian, to be determined. Full disclosure.
Fair enough. How
you have to tune in to find out at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock tomorrow morning. All right, then I'm going to put you on the spot again. Yeah. Do you have a listing for us?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we got a great listing. We got quite a few, actually, but there's a really good one right on Greenhouse Road in Campbell County, Rustburg High School District, right off of Callahan Road. If you're driving down south, turn left there by the fossil fuels, turn right on Greenhouse Road. And a new construction home. It's big. It's got 1,800 square feet. And garage, 2-car garage, all on one level. Just a really, really nice house on 2.5 acres. And that price is $439,900 for that home. It's brand new, built by H&S Improvements. Nathan and Kendall, good guys. I sell a lot of their houses, and they build a really good quality product. And yeah, that's a really good value and a good location, just 7 minutes south of the airport.
All right, that sounds good. And people can see that at karlmillerrealty.com?
Yes, sir, karlmillerrealty.com.
That's Karl with a K. Karl, thank you very much.
Thank you.